what's gonna happen if we can't make that happen? I am a big believer in what I call building a SaaS factory. Let's just be real here. The reality is what we're doing right now might not work. We might not hit that $1 million ARR. Are you ready to throw Client Manager into the fire and then start on something completely new if you find out that this is going nowhere? Welcome back to another episode of 0 to Million podcast. I am here with Kyle Prinsloo, and Kyle, we actually haven't been speaking for a few weeks, so I am dying to hear, how are things going with Client Manager?
Yeah, so I wish I could have some amazing news to share, but it's just as you took off, I also took off, and I spent some time with family. I had family come over from overseas. We sort of did a lot of different things. And I haven't really sort of been pushing things as much, although there have been things working on the, in the background on features and all of these things. MRR, all of these things are slowly increasing, but there's still no major moves yet. I actually chatted to you about some ad stuff that is in the works, working on pixels and tracking and all of that stuff, and you gave me some good advice. But yeah, hopefully, I think by the next time we have a chat, I think I'm going to have a lot more of a better update to give you. So this was sort of my vacation time. But how's Adbase? How's your other SaaS and everything going?
Thanks, man. It's going really well. I'm happy to hear that our last conversation about ads has been piquing a little bit of interest and having you going halfway down the rabbit hole of trying to actually create some ads. I can say the same back at you, because after our conversation on SEO, I was a bit skeptical. I didn't really have, the biggest hopes yet. As I also mentioned in that episode, I do have a content team working on, among others, SEO content and blog content. And we actually have started to rank on some high volume search words on Google. So this is it's an interesting situation for me. It's safe to say that it is easier to rank for Adbase as compared to FeedHive, as we tried to rank for earlier. FeedHive was insanely difficult to get to rank on anything social media and social media management. But it seems like we're having a little bit more luck this time. Still, though, too early. I'm not 100% converted yet. There's still the current few placements that do well and do drive traffic. They still don't compare to our paid channels, not even by a stretch. So, but let's see. By the end of the year, I at least have a content writer on my team who is very, very passionate about making this happen. So let's see. I'm very curious about it.
Yeah, it's actually quite funny because literally today you posted something about your results on the SEO, about articles, and then I tagged you in a comment, and I changed our thumbnail from I hate SEO to I love SEO.
I saw that one.
Yeah, and man, I think I mean that's good. I think what's cool about it is that it's like the multi-channel marketing, because even if they might come from an SEO side, just to get used to your brand, let's say, or at the back of their mind, they might see you in different places, and then all of a sudden they see an ad and then they take action. So even though you're tracking the pixel of the ad, who knows, it could have an influence, at least some influence, from an SEO side. And yes, it's small for now, but when you're dealing with tens of thousands of page views a month, which I think Adbase is going to get there from an SEO perspective, look, I mean, it could really make a difference,
It could, definitely.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. So also from user side from Adbase, what's happening? Has it stalled? Has it improved? Because our last chat, you mentioned that you were trialing a different pricing tier.
Yes.
What has happened with that experiment?
Good news is that we are starting to get more users on our $99 a month plan. So last episode we talked about how in our initial offer, then when we launched the cheapest plan we had with $99, it was hard to get free users to convert. So we introduced a $29 per month plan with much lower limits, and we got into a situation where that was the plan everyone picked. But we now have started rolling out our API solutions for the tool. which really enables developers to build more custom flows and really, to a much higher degree, natively integrate 8-base into their apps. And we only allow the API for the $99 per month plan, which did show, it did result in more people signing up for that plan. So something is happening there, which is definitely good.
Okay, well, that's promising. Looking forward to catching up in our next chat, whether that's
next chat, yeah.
So yeah, that's good.
And then here's the question, because one thing I have thought a lot about since our last conversation is we got into this podcast sort of committing to bringing our products to $1 million ARR. And what's gonna happen if we can't make that happen? Like, I am a big believer in what I call building a SaaS factory. I've talked about this a lot. I make reusable components and reusable templates, and I take code and put it into packages that can be reused so that I can put out a lot of products. I might even looking into acquire more products. And let's just be real here. The reality is what we're doing right now might not work. We might not hit that $1 million ARR. And the question is, are you ready to throw Client Manager into the fire and then start on something completely new if you find out that this is going nowhere, no chance this is ever going to hit $1 million ARR? We might as well just hit the reset button and start from scratch. And if that is something you have been contemplating, what would you build?
Yeah, so I like how you phrased it, because the reality is, whether it's SaaS or whatever, it's a business, right? And the odds are against us. Creating a business is not easy. And I think I read something like, I could get the numbers wrong, but it's like 80% of businesses fail within the first year. And then in the second year of that, or the fifth year or something, of that, like 80% fail again. So when you look at the numbers, you're talking about like less than 10% still make it, like after 10 years type thing. So it's risky, right? And obviously there's an argument from like an employee perspective that is not as secure as some may think as well, but that's a different topic, I think. But yeah, I think it's something that I have thought about in every single business venture that I've tried. I think what will suck is if Client Manager fails, it will be the most that I've lost on a venture. And if I could do things differently starting over in hindsight, I would. And I think that this is why it's so cool about the podcast, the podcast that we're doing, because I can at least share on workings that have not worked out and that are slowly starting to work out, and what to avoid, so that hopefully, you as the listeners don't waste a lot of money like I did, And not only that, but I've got the same perspective of it probably will fail. So now what can I do to hedge my bets and work on a different software, and then another one, and another type of business? So yes, I have thought about it. And I think that in this episode, we're going to get into some interesting discussions about some ideas. In short, I've thought about it, and I'm going to walk through a few ideas that I have. But flipping it back to you, how do you think about, hedging your bets? And I'm sure you've thought about this a lot, and you mentioned you're going to acquire and do other things, but maybe you've got anything additional maybe to add to that.
Well, first of all, I simply have to ask, because now it's been the elephant in the room ever since the very first podcast episode we did. You said that you were 6 figures in the red with Client Manager. How much is? Let's get a number. What are we talking here? 6 figures. That can be like 100,000. It can also be like 900,000.
Yeah. No. So it's. I saw someone tweet this. It's like, hey, I sold my SaaS business or something for like 5 figures or something. And you think in your mind like, wow, it could be like almost 100 grand, but actually it's probably more like 10 grand, or so it's actually very much like that. So I haven't done an exact calculation, but it's anywhere between 100 to 120. If I include all income and everything else. And look, it's a lot of money. I don't like losing any money. But again, as I say, if I could do it differently, I would do it drastically. And I learned the hard way on a lot of different things. So anyway, that answers the question. It's
Fair.
low
That's
six
good.
figures.
Good.
Thankfully.
Curiosity is fixed. Yes. All good. Well, and you flipped it back. I mean, of course, I've considered that that 8-base might just not be the thing. I've been considering a lot of I have a lot of thoughts about this. The whole AI chatbot. I'm constantly thinking about how I can pivot the product if this turns out to be bad timing. I mean, there's already a handful of tools doing exactly this. There are we're right now working on a Zapier integration, and I log into Zapier and to start to working on this integration last week, and what do I see? Lo and behold, chatbot, new AI chatbot from Zapier. Like, create a chatbot on your own data and integrate it directly into your SAP automation workflows and everything. And I'm like, oh man, it's like even the biggest players are rolling this. So I'm constantly thinking about how can we differentiate, how can we make our platform more as it's very obvious right now we're making ours more developer friendly and having a more customizable solution, and going a little bit further away from the more fully no-codey solutions like Zapier can do. So we don't want to be in a situation where the users are going to go, should I pick Zapier or 8-base? Because then we're going to be run over. Yeah. We want the users to go, I can have 8-base and that works well with Zapier. So I should have both because now I can build like the optimal workflow. So that's what we're trying to do. If not, well, of course, like I have a few ideas on my hand as well for new things that I can launch. But you know what? Let's do a thing. How about we pitch each other 3 ideas we've had, and then we can tell each other if we think that idea sucks or we think that's something to move forward with, or we can steal each other's idea, or any of you listening right now can steal the idea and just run ahead of us if you want to. So how about that?
Yeah, I like it. I think I should mention that I watched one of your videos on like SaaS ideas, and by the way, if you guys haven't watched it, watch it now because it's really, really good. Simon goes into a lot of cool ideas, and you can see he's like an idea factory, you know. So no doubt we're going to cover a couple, but I'm sure you've got like dozens on a different list that you could try, you know. So yeah, I am excited to share a few things, and I prepared a few, but I'm not sure what you're going to think of it. So I'm very curious to pick your brain, get your advice, and also from others as well. Let us know what you think of our ideas, you know, and then as Simon says, you know, it's a free market, it's capitalism. So if you like it, just copy it and improve it, you know. So how do you want to sort of approach this? Like, do you want to pitch your idea first, or how do you want to do it?
Well, now you're at it already, so why don't you drop the first one on the table and let's discuss.
Okay, so I've got something ready for you. Okay, so let me just open it up. Okay, so a question, and it's, although it's directed to you, it's also directed at the listeners. But I'm talking to you now, Simon. So, what do you use to manage all of your software subscriptions?
I use nothing. I don't think I use anything to manage all my subscriptions.
Okay. Follow-up question is, how much do you spend each month or each year on subscriptions?
I do not know. I couldn't even come with an educated guess. As a matter of fact, I actually don't know. I'm hoping that now I see where you're going with this. I'm hoping that this is probably the answer that you would like to hear. And
yeah. so I'm glad that you said that because for me, if I answer it, I used Excel, to sort of manage it and whatever.
I should be using Excel to manage this. I really should have a spreadsheet. Why don't I have that?
Yeah. And then it gets a bit confusing because you've got different currencies, you've got monthly, yearly, and let me tell you, once you do the calculation, I think you'll be shocked. I was shocked when I did the calculation that I'm spending so much money. So now I'm going to ask you a follow-up question to this. have you ever missed canceling a subscription that you wanted to cancel, or that you forgot that it's actually on auto renew?
Yes, and I think I probably have a handful of subscriptions at this very moment I'm not even using. I just completely 100% forgot that I have them. So they're just running, most likely.
Okay, perfect. Now my last question on this is, let's say you've got different subscriptions, which all of us do, right? Where it gets even more tricky is might have a different card or different payment methods. Maybe you've got paid by card, you paid by PayPal, or you paid with your bank, or whatever, right? And now one of your card expires. Now you have to think, which subscription is that card linked to, right? Okay, great. So I hope I'm highlighting a lot of the pain.
I think I got a rough idea, yes.
Yeah. So now another thing. So let's say you have a team and you want to organize your software subscriptions, by department, or they've got their own credit card. So it's great also for like team management, right? So I'm going to give you my idea now. So my idea is it's a SaaS to manage all of your SaaS or software subscriptions. So you never pay for a SaaS you didn't intend to, and you also get helpful, reporting data. So how it would work is you can either add like manual things, and it will apply, personally and business. I mean, we're talking about, Netflix, Gmail, all of the, there's so many different subscriptions, right? So my idea is the following, is that you can import like one by one individually or add products, or you can import bulk subscriptions. So let's say you do have CSV or something, we would give you like some template or something that you would just add some things in pre-configured columns, you import it, and then now you can actually track it and manage it. And then ideally also, if you want to import like your bank statements via PDF, and it'll go through all your transactions, or maybe link to an accounting software, that can go through and scan, I don't know, maybe some tools or whatever for that. So basically the idea is, it'll work well, I think, for business owners. Maybe like your solo business owner, you've got like 10 or 20 subscriptions, but even better if you manage like big companies, right? Like maybe you've got 100 plus subscriptions. So that's basically my idea,
Not bad.
my pitch. Let me know what you think of it in theory.
In theory. Only two questions comes up from the top of my mind. One, there has to be SaaS tools already doing this already out there, right? There must be some big competitors. I'm asking because I don't actually know, but I'm guessing there is.
So interestingly enough, yes and no. The one that is sort of like up there is Rocket Money, but they don't really have, so they aren't focused on the business side, they focus on the personal side. And not only that, but a lot of people might not want to link to, let's say, their business or their bank accounts or whatever. So that's you're obligated to do that. The other ones are, I would say, very bad, and there's not many out there, right? That I've seen. So actually, and I told you a while ago that I'm working on a different SaaS, right? And this is it. So it's called softwaresubscriptions.com. I had to buy the domain, softwaresubscriptions.com.
So this is a product, and things just got spicy. All right.
So I beat you and I beat others to it.
Because I know, but I don't know if I remember this entirely correctly, but I know that, do you know the company Slidebean? They also have a huge YouTube channel.
Yeah.
They built a software, I believe it was called Recurring. And they announced less than a year after that they're sunsetting this product. They couldn't make it work. It wasn't a big driver. They failed to get the traction they needed, so on and so on. So that's one and that could be for many reasons. We have no idea why exactly they did that. They might there could be 1,000 reasons why they did that. So that's one indication. Another one is because I'm the first to say I build tools all the time where there are tons of other tools in the market already. So that's not necessarily a bad thing at all. But a second thing I immediately thought when you said this is, how is this? Because I think one thing that would prevent me from using a tool like this if there is any type of friction when I need to track. So I'm imagining something like, I'm using LastPass password manager. Whenever I create a new account somewhere, it automatically comes down blah, blah, from my Chrome extension and says, like, do you want to save this password? And I have to click one button and go, yes. If I had to manually open LastPass every time I created a new account and manually track every new account and put the password in there, it would be a useless tool for me. I simply wouldn't do it. It would just be, I wouldn't get it done. And suddenly, if I just start lacking half of them, it becomes, the whole point is kind of lost. So how are you gonna, that's an engineering challenge, I guess, how to make a seamless way to make this tool automatically, or as close to automatically, like one click away, sort of register every time you're subscribing to something new and automatically start tracking.
Yeah, so actually I'm glad that you brought that up, because we are actually working on a Google Chrome extension. So it's the exact same concept of LastPass. So you would create an account, and then we would try and get some pre-configured data, and then it would add to your account. So I think over time, I think it's going to get much better, because let's say you've got invoices and PDFs and whatever, we can use some AI tools and whatever to scan that and then bring it in. But I think we just want to launch with a V1.
Nice.
And then you mentioned like recurring sunsetting and whatever. So our approach is actually going to be a little bit different. So we're not going to charge monthly. We're actually going to charge a once-off fee, like a lifetime price, and then we're going to see how we're going to approach it. And not only that, but what's cool about this software is our running costs are essentially very low. Like I'm talking maybe a few $100s a month. So it's really, really low. And in terms of building it, it hasn't been like, $100,000 or whatever. It's actually been pretty reasonable. So we've really tried to make it lean, a lot more simple. We're going on like this sort of impulse buy, under $100, just buy it. It's going to help you save hundreds and even thousands of dollars. And then hopefully we can, grow it and scale it from there. So yeah, that's my initial idea. And I like how you've been asking some probing questions on that. But I don't know if you have any more follow-up questions or any other comments on that.
Not now, but for anyone listening right now, if you have any questions or anything to comment on this tool, please, in the comments below, we would love to hear, and don't hold back. Please give your honest feedback. I would love to hear some of your thoughts about this tool.
Yeah, and I should mention, so I am going to be a bit naughty, Simon. You don't know that I'm going to do this, but we're going to probably go live in about 2 weeks or next week or whatever with this. And then by then it's going to be live and ready. So if anyone wants to buy it, and if anyone's listening to it, we're going to give you a 30% off coupon. Just use the code podcast, or podcast, as the Americans say. And then we're going to give you 30% off. And as I say, all plans, and there's different plans for different tiers and some other benefits and whatever, are under $100. So it's incredibly cheap. It's going to save you a lot of money. And we're going to keep reinvesting all of the cash for the remainder of the year to make it much better from a feature perspective. So that's my like.
I love it. So this podcast episode is hereby sponsored by, I forgot the name again, but it's a surprise to me, guys. I also didn't know this was a sponsored episode, but we just found out that Kyle just snuck in an ad right there. Nicely played. I like it.
Yeah. So, Simon, I'll pay you after this.
Great. Nice, smooth.
Yeah. So okay. So all my other ideas are much shorter. So that's the main one that I want to float by you. Now I'm going to ask you, what is your idea? What is your pitch? Give it to me. I'm the Shark Tank.
All right, you're the Shark Tank. Let me give it to you here. I'm not sure I can do it as well as you can with the questions and everything, so I'm just going to dive right in, because this right here is a pretty niche problem. Right now, we're at this turning point with AI. This is everywhere in the top news of AI and the progression of AI. One massive challenge we have right now is data. But it so happens that what they call synthetic data, the idea of using AI to create synthetic data that can be used to train the future of AI models. This is not a new concept, but we recently got to a point where this is actually doable. Microsoft released some papers on this, that you can now use AI for a fairly cheap amount of money, you can actually synthesize data at a scale that can be used to much more effectively train new AI models. And it turns out that this very concept is extremely useful also when you're doing fine-tuning of OpenAI's current models. So as an example, this is something we've been doing rigorously when training the models that we're using for 8base. We're not, despite what some people might think, a tool like 8base is not just a wrapper. It's not just hooking up to OpenAI's API and kind of proxying the call. In order for it to actually deliver really good custom replies based on the knowledge that we're providing, we need to do so-called fine-tuning. And the fine-tuning process works similarly to how you would train a model from scratch. You're just taking a base model, in this case, a model from OpenAI, and then you're providing it with a bunch of extra examples of how you would want it to respond to certain messages. And after doing that a whole lot, you can sort of tweak it and specialize it and kind of have it go in a specific direction and do a certain type of reply much more often. And that's very useful when you're building a tool like 8base. And what we did is we synthesized data. Really, really quickly, we found out that however much data we tried to pull from our current chat conversations, and we tried to sit and manually sort of craft good conversations, like ideal chat conversations that we would like the chatbot, our fine-tuned models, to learn from, it would take forever to sit and manually craft enough examples for the AI models to properly learn. And so we're synthesizing. We're basically taking some handcrafted data points, and then we're giving it to OpenAI, and we're using another model to say, can you expand on this data set? Create data with similar characteristics to this, but just make the data set much larger. And my idea here is, this is a tool I would have loved to use, is simply a tool for handling synthetic data. So I'm thinking a UI you can open, you can upload a JSON document, or you can enter some data directly in the tool, and now you can start specifying how you want this tool to be expanded. So you can give it certain characteristics. You can use a prompt to say, kind of describe with human language, describe the characteristics of the data. You can then ask this tool to expand on this data, so you would get this massive data set as a result. You can then run some anomaly detections, try to find certain outliers in this data set. Sometimes you want to have some outliers because you want the model to understand that statistically there may be these types of outliers in the type of conversations that you're dealing with. All of this should be you should be able to sit and visually craft this in a sort of drag and drop style visual way. And because it's super, super tedious the way we're doing this. There's a lot of scripting, a lot of JSON files back and forth, and a lot of using JavaScript to sit and sort of interpolate and craft the structure of these JSON files. It's a mess. It's a massive, big mess when you do this at scale. So that's my one idea. It's super niche, and let me get some I don't know how much you've done this. So I am speaking from a point of I happen to have had this problem myself, but I'm curious to hear if you have any follow-up questions. Do you think OpenAI, will they possibly introduce this themselves since they have a lot of tooling already, or what could be a potential threat to an idea like this?
Yeah, so I'm coming at it as a complete beginner and a layman from a technical perspective. I mean, the way that you made it sounds amazing, and I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of let's say someone like you, or someone who's building AI, startups or something, who can really make use of it, because the way you explained it was there's definitely a pain point in this development phase, So yeah, I think my concern, if I have to be a skeptic, would be that it sounds like it could be easily replicable from these big companies, and it's almost like it's almost like the ChatGPT wrapper, or in a way, right? So it's like you're sort of building on top of that, and it could work. But what happens when, let's say, the big guys like Microsoft, OpenAI, Llama, or whoever else, I don't know all of these language models and everything, but when they basically do it essentially almost for free and they give all of these tools, is it going to be down then to pure marketing and brand awareness that you make it work? Or are you going to also have to be a race to the bottom to actually compete with them? Again, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit obnoxious or ignorant of it, but that's sort of my initial skepticism on that.
But it's the same here. It's the same here. I think I have two overall. One, OpenAI could build this and then they could offer it, and then that would sort of be it. Number two, is this too niche? Like I happen to be in a situation where if this tool existed, I would 100% pay for it. But is this too niche? So that's also again, for you watching, please comment below. Would you have ever thought that you would need this tool? Or is this like it's such a specific problem and you would have to like dealing with building 8-base or something similar to ever have to do this? Or is it just a matter of like, are these large language models, are they gonna be so good that they're gonna come with certain sort of, is it even something we need to do is fine-tuning even gonna be a thing in like a few years? A year or two from now, is that concept even gonna be a thing that we're gonna be doing? Or is it like everyone is going to be training their own models from scratch, which is a completely different procedure? Or is there going to be other layers on top of this technology that just makes the process of fine-tuning completely redundant for 99% of startups like mine? Those are hard questions for this idea. So I agree, super niche, and this could easily be run by the big ones themselves.
Hey, real quick, Simon and I would really appreciate if you could subscribe or like and share. It would really mean a lot to us. Thank you so much. Now back to the episode.
You had a second idea. I can't wait to hear about it. Shoot.
Yeah, my other ideas are pretty basic, right? And I find that it's often the basic tools. These are the ones that I actually also buy for myself. So I'm going to float it to you, and then you let me know what you think. And I'm not going to go in a big spiel. It's just like one sentence each, okay? So this next idea is a bulk image compress and converter, where you can keep the same file type names or even change the file type names, but using AI to give it an appropriate file name, and it can also generate alt tag names. So it's like a sort of all-in-one image name, configurator, I guess. So let me give you a quick example. So let's say I am building a website for products, and I've got all of these product images, and just like I sent you like thumbnail pictures, on Google Drive, where it's like IMG and then the number, IMG and then the number. It's like dozens of these images, but it's like, why do we need to do that? We can just drag and drop everything, and then we can tell the AI, give me 3-word a name, change the name, and then I don't want it to be JPEG, I want it to be PNG, and I want you to compress it, and I want you to give me an alt tag image if I had to upload it to like my website or something. So I don't know, it could also be a bit too niche, but I find that doing any type of website or sending images to people, and even people saving their own personal images, they want to sort through different images and whatever, they can at least sort through by name or something. So yeah, that's my initial idea. I don't know what you think.
I think I probably wouldn't subscribe to a tool like this. I think it would be hard to get to be a tool that people would subscribe to. However, I think this sounds like a really cool idea for simply a website, a free tool that can generate revenue through either ad banners, or you will have like any sort of small tool you have. It's like a free marketing spot. Like either you can put AdSense on, or you can start advertising some of your own tools, right? So I think there are a bunch of these tools already out there where you can drag an image in and it will compress it, or it will convert it to a JPEG, PNG. And what's happening behind the scenes is it's incredibly trivial. Any like 3-line node script can do this basically. So it's like the simplest software to build, but if you can just make that rank, make that the first thing people click. I don't know how many times I do this. I go to Google and click like PNG to JPEG, and I just pick the first converter that's there.
Yeah.
Then I see ads everywhere, and I'm often sitting and thinking, man, like how much money are these people dragging in just from ad revenue from these tools. And if I owned a page like that, how wild would it be to just put my own advertisement on there, or ads for my own, some of my own products? So I think a tool like this you're describing would do really, really well as a so-called micro product, as I would call it, and do really well as an engineering, as marketing channel. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the idea. Short and sweet.
Boom.
Now your second one.
My second one. Okay, so here's the thing. It's sort of already out there, but I'm just thinking about like an expanded version of this. Lately, I have been doing a lot of rendering in Blender. And by the time this podcast episode comes out, my next YouTube video will have come out where I'm using a ton of rendering, and I'm using a ton of green screen and putting myself into these Blender 3D renderings. And one massive problem I immediately hit while doing this is that these renderings, they take forever to actually render. They take forever. I have had 2 computers constantly stand and grind renderings overnight for weeks to do just this one video. Until I started opening Amazon and thought like, okay, you know what? This is just not, I need to put this into the cloud where I can scale up multiple instances so they, like in parallel, they can stand and grind these image per image, and I can put it together in an animation at last. So I started doing that, and then I thought, this is actually a good idea for SaaS. If you go and search for Blender renders, you will find services like Render Street, and there's a few of these that does exactly this, like cloud rendering. They call them render farms. So it's just like a bunch of computers. And I tried one of these services, tried one called Render Street. It was very expensive. I was surprised how much I had to pay just to do one relatively simple rendering. Then I did my own setup on AWS and realized if that's something like that they're doing, holy crap, they're taking a lot, like they're taking a huge margin on top of that if they can do this consistently that cheap. So there's a business opportunity right there. So my idea is, I want to build a rendering tool users can use to queue up their 3D rendering, their rendering for Adobe After Effects, Adobe Premiere, maybe DaVinci Resolve. So for teams, small startups like mine that does a whole lot of content, instead of having a computer in our office dedicated to stand and do this all the time, you'll simply have a cloud tool doing this. And of course, there's an opportunity here also to use AI to enhance this whole experience. From the top of my head, I'm thinking like AI upscaling. So you can render something in a smaller resolution and have AI scale it up so you get better image quality. There's also this thing some people are doing. If it's relatively simple renderings, you can render every other frame. To do the step rendering, then you can have AI actually generate the images in between. So if the pixels don't move too much, the AI can roughly predict how an image in between 2 frames would look, and it will generate that. And there has been a whole lot of fuss going around about Sora. And if you, the viewer, missed this by any chance, Sora is this new model. It's not available yet, but it is the latest update from OpenAI. It is a model you can give a description, and then it will create a purely AI-driven piece of video, and it looks mind-blowingly good. And as a lot of people have commented, it looks like Sora behind the scenes. It's not just a mid-journey that generates a series of frames, image by image. It seems like it has some sort of sense of physics. It can do water that does a certain thing. Gravity seems to work like clouds and fog and all of this. It looks hyper-realistic. So realistic, in fact, that a lot of people started commenting saying this looks like something from Unreal Engine. It actually looks extremely much like something from Unreal Engine. And the hypothesis is right now that behind the scenes, what Sora might actually do is to create some sort of Unreal Engine-like environment in its model and then use that to produce the video. And I think they're 100% right in that. So I think in the future, Sora might be able to not only generate video, but it might actually be able you might be able to give it a prompt and it will generate a whole 3D environment that you can open in Unreal Engine, ready to to animate yourself. And with that, I think virtual production and CGI is going to be a huge thing. I think that's going to be the next wave of what we're going to see on YouTube. It's going to be that thing everyone want to do. It's cool. Mr. Beast is already doing it. Everyone's going to be looking at the big creators going like, everyone want to do CGI now because it became so easy. So imagine, I'm talking faster and faster here as I'm getting more and more excited. I don't know if you've noticed, but imagine you have this.
Yeah, I like it.
Right. Like, imagine you have this this rendering tool where you can combine all of this. So you have rendering, but you also have Sora that can help you do some sort of 3D modeling and by prompt create some 3D environments that you can incorporate into the whole experience. So that's my a little bit far-fetched, a little bit into the future rendering 3D AI idea. So what do you think?
Yeah, one word, sold. How can I buy in? Because I think you explained the pain problem well. I think you explained the value problem and also the potential. So no complaints actually from our side. I think it's actually a fantastic idea, and I think if you don't do it, I think someone definitely should. I mean, really, that's actually a very good idea.
And I can see we have the bell here going. We have this little bell reminding us that Simon, you're going on a ramble again. You need to start wrapping it up. So we're slowly starting to look at how we can wrap up the episode. So let's do rapid fire. We have one idea each. Let's do rapid fire here. What's your last third idea? Let's hear it.
Yeah. So again, it's a short one. It's a quick one, but it's sort of like a pain problem, right? And I know there are similar tools to it, but I would like it a bit more sort of AI vibe. So the what I would like is, it's like a client proposal AI or like a quote proposal AI. And yes, it can apply to like web design developers, solopreneurs, that type of thing. But also like, let's say like landscapers or gardeners or something, where it's like they can take a picture of your lawn or something and it can instantly, I think actually giving it more thought to niche down for, let's say, landscapers or gardeners or someone. So they can take a picture of your lawn, and then the AI can sort of determine some ideas, and then it'll instantly work on like a rough quote to provide. So maybe I'm niching it down as I'm thinking a bit more, but I think that could potentially be something helpful to them. Again, it's just a random idea, but yeah, let me know what you think.
Nice. I like it. I think that you just moved to a house recently where you have an actual lawn, isn't that you have a garden now?
Yeah.
That's how this the idea came in, or
I'm just thinking about it because like there's so much that one could do there, or like the different plots and stuff. And I know that because in the city where we live, there's a lot of contractors and stuff. And if they can just say like, here's my bill of materials, here's my unit price and whatever, and you've got an idea of the different quoting structures, it can help you formulate the quote and estimates much faster than doing it manually, I think. And AI is bound to change that industry soon. So I'm thinking, it could be worth something exploring. So that's my initial idea on that. I think it needs more fleshing out. But yeah, I'm going to flip it back to you, and then you're going to give us the last one. And I've got high expectations for this because I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
Last one. All right. This is going to be a quick one as well. You know the platform Vercel. Have you ever heard about? It's one of these cloud platforms you can use to host. So like easy hosting. There's been a lot of drama about Vercel in the last week here. They raised their prices, and now people are going, "What the hell is going on?" And we were in another group, and we've been discussing this back and forth and realizing that what's going on, like it doesn't seem like Vercel is solving something overly complex from an engineering perspective. They actually just provision a bit of cloud infrastructure under the hood. So things that if you know a little bit about cloud, you can actually sit and set this up yourself. But people, they find it convenient. They can just click a few times on Vercel and then they can deploy stuff. But the price Vercel is charging on top of what it actually costs is insane. this is like an insane business. So here's the thought. Now I've been actually ranting a bit myself on Threads and on LinkedIn, saying that I don't think you should necessarily use these providers. You should just pick it up and learn AWS instead and actually use the cloud. However, if you were to create a tool like Vercel or like Superbase or some of these tools that make it easier to deploy, why don't you make one that is much more specialized for SaaS? Or maybe in particular, small bootstrapped SaaS. So I'm just thinking a sort of hosting provider that can take care of hosting, landing pages, that can handle ad retargeting and feature flags and a lot of these things that are inherent and often used, maybe tracking and analytics and these kinds of things, all in one platform. Maybe you can add your payment provider and it all just works. I know that there's one tool that does something a little bit similar to this called Outsita or something like that. But that's the no-code version of that. I'm thinking here a good old like hosting provider that you can integrate with your code apps. So that's my last idea. Build a Vercel or a Superbase, but specialized, hyper specialized for SaaS. I actually think this might not be a completely bad idea. So this is the one for the very technical people. If you're an engineer, that might be one that you can run with.
I think that's a great idea, and I think that you would actually be a great person to actually do that type of business, with your business mind and also for your, a lot of experience and technical and everything. So, man, I think you should go for it.
That's green light from here. That was 3 ideas. I'm kind of excited how we started out with a long presentation and then it went faster and faster as we went towards the end here. But 3 good ideas. There's at least some food for thought here. You're gonna launch one of yours already in a few weeks. Maybe I should pick up one of mine and see if I could roll my rendering service one of the following weeks or months too. Who knows? I might try.
Man, I love that rendering idea. I think I can really see a lot of good potential for that. So I think if I had to choose one of your ideas, I think all of them are actually very good, but I think the Blender one is and the rendering one, boom. Yeah, I think and if I can maybe mention one thing, so to our watchers and listeners, obviously these are just quick ideas, right? And the thing with ideas is there's so many of them, right? And the point is an idea will remain an idea if you don't take action on it, so if you want to experiment, try it as a business and everything, but also let us know your ideas. If you got some ideas, comment it below or tag us or whatever, and then let's have a discussion about it. So
absolutely,
I think from my perspective, it's more a thing of inspiring people to come up with ideas and stuff if you've got sort of procrastination on what to take on. But Simon, I'm going to hand it over to you to give us the last parting advice and to wrap it up. But this has been awesome, and thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I don't really have much to say, to just build on top of yours. Also remember that ideas aren't really worth that much. That's why we're sitting here sharing ours pretty freely. It's all about execution. So whatever you pick, and if you want to run with one of our ideas or if this spiked some new ideas of yours, just remember that you need execution. That's really what matters by the end of the day. Take care.
Cool. Cheers, guys.